Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Mike.
Would that be me?
Mike Phillips.
Okay.
And Jorvik is here.
Good morning or good afternoon if you're
Good
here.
afternoon. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by Telestream's Wirecast software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. Steve is in the chat room, but he's not in here. He says he's only going to be in the chat room. Okay, that's fine. So what is happening? This has been kind of a really slow week.
Yeah, I had some things happen. I'm trying to remember what they were.
All very quiet this end.
Yeah, Time Warner, whatever the Speculum, whatever their latest name is. They have a business client of mine. They lost their internet Friday for all afternoon. I have yet to learn. Well, I believe they called and they said that there was a regional outage. I don't know whether anyone else here had any experience with that. It was in Cary.
Regional outage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When was it? Was it last Monday? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It was down, and it came up and down. It went up and down during breaking free on Monday. And I ended up using the Uverse feed. And it was down for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. And then it just came back. That's right. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing, but they are.
Maybe they're upgrading.
Definitely, yeah, right.
Charles says Android O is about to drop. What is Android O?
Charles, why don't you call in and we'll talk about it? That's 919-518-9773 or Computers 2K Voice on.
If we don't get some callers or some discussion here, it's going to be a long show.
A long show. I came across a story this morning that we're getting a new Amiga for Christmas. The seminal Commodore microcomputers that brought mouse-driven GUI plus slick and speedy graphics to the masses from 85 to 96. The platform died when Commodore went bankrupt, but enthusiasm for the Amiga persisted, and various clones and efforts to preserve Amiga OS continue to this day. One such effort from Apollo Accelerators emerged last week, and the company's forthcoming Vampire V4 can work as a standalone Amiga or as an accelerator for older Amigas. Now listen to this. There is a whopping 512 megabyte of RAM in it. And it has 40 and 44 pin fast IDE connectors, Ethernet, pair of USB ports, and micro SD for storage. And it uses micro USB to power the board. And as a side note, the author writes, he said, a school in Michigan used the same Amiga for 30 years. Whenever it broke, they actually phoned up the high school student who originally set it up in 1987 and had him come over to fix it. the point is they could fix it, and that's very nice. I remember when the users groups were like a big deal here. Uh, the Amiga users group, the things that they were doing, it was amazing. So that will be interesting to see if they can actually kind of revive it. So, Mike, what are you saying? I see. What do you see?
I was just acknowledging that he said that
Yeah.
Android O is the next operating system that has yet to be named.
Oh. Oh, I see.
No, I see.
I see now. No, it was the same length message, and I thought that you're saying I see. I thought you find something
I
about
did
it.
say I see.
Yeah, I see. I see.
Then you
You
said
see.
I see.
Yeah, I
If
see.
I see, how do you see?
I see. You see. We all
The only
see.
one
See
of us
you.
get to see.
Is Nick en route somewhere, or is
No.
okay? So
No,
he's
he's
just
probably.
sleeping.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nick,
it's
I'm
fine.
going to brag on him
It's
a
fine.
little bit.
It's fine.
What are you doing? Who's talking? I'm going to brag on Nick a little bit yesterday. Nick, they had a Comic-Con, which I don't know what it is, some kind of geek fest down in Wilmington. Of course, Nick is with the radio station down there that we put on the air, and Nick is a big Comic-Con fan, so when he found out about it, he contacted the people. He contacted the guy who puts it on, set up the entire event so that we would be broadcasting from there. He set up the remote equipment, programmed the station's computer to do cutaways to him while he was remote at the location. Once he got there, as I say, he set up the equipment, connected up through the station, set up all of the paths. And then once he got there, he also did live cut-ins. And from 2 until 3, he did the entire hour live, even running all by himself, everything all by himself, and even went out and got his own guests and brought them over and did phenomenal interviews.
Wow.
And it's impressive if you realize it's the first time he's ever done it. So I hope he's not listening because I don't want to swell his head. But I have to tell you, I was absolutely blown away. I mean, back in the old days, which I always say, it would take 4 or 5 of us to do what he did.
Yeah, I remember when we did a remote from the computer show at the fairgrounds. John came, and I mean they had to put
John was the engineer.
Was it Marty?
Yeah, Marty remote pickup.
Yeah, and an antenna and all that to go to it, and it was a big production.
Well, this was a big production. This sounded exactly like it would have for then, and Nick did it all by himself. And of course, from a personal perspective, he did it on his own initiative. Nobody asked him to. And Saturday's his day off, by the way.
It's a good thing that what show was preempted, or was there anything preempted because of the?
Something was preempted. I don't remember what it was.
Nothing important, obviously.
Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes the weekend shows it may. I don't know. Saturday at 2. I don't recall what we run. We have a paid program from 1 to 2 and to 2 to 3. It may just be filler. I'm not sure.
Oh, nice.
But it was perfect time for the show, and the place was packed, wall to wall.
Oh, whenever there's one of those Comic-Cons, I mean, you've been watching Big Bang. They always talk about going to Comic-Con here and Comic-Con there, and nice.
Well, they had one. The guy who ran it was saying that. I believe he said the first one that they had a hurricane hit, and they got there and they were sitting there talking to each other. But this one, he was thrilled. It was packed. He gave us 150, 175 tickets to give away, and when Nick got there, our tickets were a different color, and there was a big stack of people who took advantage of them.
Yep, he's got imagination and he's got initiative. He likes to do that kind of stuff. That's what makes Nick unique.
Yep.
Nick unique.
Yep. Nick unique, and he's 20 years old.
Yep. So we all use the command line in Windows to do different things. When you go CMD and you get that black screen.
Only for a few things.
Yeah, for a few things. So Microsoft is giving its Windows console, the command prompt, a color overhaul. Windows 10 test. The what?
It's going to be blue now, is it?
Yeah. Windows 10 testers will be able to try out the new color scheme in a new build. Windows Console Legacy Blue is getting a subtle change to make it more legible on modern high contrast displays. It's not just for looks, it's really to be more comfortable to work with. Alongside color changes to the entire scheme, Windows 10 testers will only see the new colors if they clean installed build 16257, and if you upgrade, you'll keep the legacy colors to ensure any custom color settings are not replaced. Microsoft is planning to release a tool soon that will allow Windows 10 testers to apply the new color scheme in a selection of alternatives. So you can give it different colors for the twice a month that you use it. Pretty good.
White on black is so difficult to read, isn't it?
Yeah, white on black is very bad, very bad. I mean, bad combination.
God knows how we've put up with it all these years.
Yep. So they're doing. They have to keep their people busy. You know,
It's a bit like that new app for Skype that they put on the iPhone. It's absolutely disgusting.
I was also reading somewhere that now, if you have a PayPal account, you can send money through Skype to other people. And I'm saying, if you already have a PayPal account, why do you need another place to put your stuff into that can be compromised in order to send money?
Gimmicks.
It's amazing. Just amazing. And did y'all hear about the guy that came up with that strong password?
Yeah, that was an interesting article.
Yeah.
He now regrets it.
So apparently, a password of I don't want to eat, whatever. I mean, anything you can come up with. I'm going to the market tomorrow. Is a better password that is harder to break than a 10-character different, special characters in there, uppercase, lowercase, and all that. It's much, much more difficult to break a sentence than it does those strong passwords that we think about. I wonder how long it's going to take before, of course, I mean, you don't put something, I love my pet, or I love my wife, or, But you have to come up with a sentence that is not a sentence. Like a combination of words that will mean maybe something to you, but somebody else will say, that doesn't mean anything. It's an interesting situation to say that everything that we did so far with those strong password, really, they can break it in a certain amount of time, and that was wrong.
like everything, that everything that's been around a long time is
Yeah.
more likely to be hacked, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's another indication of it.
You always say, okay, yeah, those passwords are strong. I'm using a strong password, so never mind. I don't need to worry. Well, yeah, we do have to worry, I guess. Yup, yeah. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype.
Well, look who's here.
Well, look who's here.
No.
No.
His ears were ringing.
What are we talking about? Windows XP?
Yeah, we need to stop talking about him now.
Oh, okay.
How lazy you are that you can't even show up at 9 o'clock.
I'm just doing laundry. I'm sorry. I'm a big boy now.
I can't wait till after the show.
Sleeping all day Saturday and coming.
Sleeping all day. Unbelievable. If only you knew.
That's what I heard.
You're getting some fake news from Mike Phillips.
Mike, you wouldn't have to worry about it. Look what he's wearing on his head. His head couldn't swell.
Oh, God. What the hell? Man, this is why I don't show up on time. I show up and it's just a freaking hate fest.
Yeah, but these things are spring-loaded, Dave.
This is not a fitted cap, so you're right.
So you had fun yesterday, Nick?
Yes, I was at Comic-Con.
Yeah. That's not the kind of fun I'm talking about. Yeah, Comic-Con, you laugh all the time. No, that's not the fun we're talking about.
Okay, what kind of fun are you talking about?
We're talking about you doing something that you didn't do before.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I guess Mike was just giving us fake news.
About doing your own remote.
So you just walked around the booths and did...
What, I've never done a radio show before?
No, but
a radio show. You have never done a remote by yourself.
Yeah, that's really something, Nick. That is...
Well, I guess.
Don't tell him that, Amnon. He's going to want more money.
No,
I mean, I'm a genius. What can I say? I mean, I don't know what you want from me. Yeah, we did a remote. Worked out pretty well. Of course, Jingle Palette Mike was phenomenal. Great program to run commercials with. So yeah, Skype works as a charm. The guy from the TV station was mesmerized by the fact that we were using Skype. He almost couldn't believe it. He was a kind of a tech nerd.
And doesn't use Skype. Well, why don't they use Skype? I mean, even CNN and their crap uses Skype.
Well, they use the Skype TX, which is like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm
but how
sure
and
use
how
live views and stuff for their remotes?
And how many people in the crew?
A typical remote now is only 2 people.
Really?
2 or 3.
Depends on how small. It depends on if it's just an anchor in front of like town hall. That's just the one camera operator, and then the anchor.
Yeah,
but depending on how big
but okay, Mike, I have to brag about him too here. They have people at the station that do things. They have people at the station. I mean, they couldn't do it just 2 people. They cannot do it. Yeah. So here, the
Mike
nice
Phillips
thing.
was my producer.
What?
Mike Phillips was my producer yesterday.
I was not. I didn't do a thing. I was part of the time I was at Home Depot.
Oh, well, there you go. Mike on the road.
Should have done a remote.
Let's see who that is.
You should have called in.
Good morning.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was a bad connection. I have a call-in question about... okay. So it's sort of complicated. I have a laptop, which it's Vista OS, and about a month ago, and I have the slowest internet speed. And up until about a month ago, I had no problems opening links and streaming on YouTube and watching Netflix, streaming movies. And now it's really slow. So, and I've talked to Time Warner about 6 times. They've had 2 servicemen come out twice, and they say there's nothing wrong with it. So I turned off my laptop with Vista, thinking that it might be a problem with my computer. and opened up a small laptop that I have with a Windows 10 that I rarely use, and that too is really slow. So if, for example, if I'm looking at my emails and I get a notification from Facebook, if I click on the link, it won't open up Facebook because there's just too much on it. So I don't know what's going on. Would that be a Time Warner issue, or would they have done something to slow down the speed so I can no longer use my computer for streaming unless I upgrade to a faster speed? What do you think?
I don't know that they did anything in order. I mean, they don't do things to stop you from using your computer, but they can do things that would just inadvertently do that. But I mean, did you go to speed test?
Yes, and I'm doing that now just about on a daily basis, and I've got the speed that I'm paying for.
Okay, so that's fine.
Yeah, so that's okay. And one service tech guy, when I called them their online tech support, said that the signal was not that great between the modem and my computer, and I'm not using their Wi-Fi benefit on their modem. I have my own Wi-Fi modem that's hooked into the Time Warner modem where So it just seems to me crazy that all of a sudden I can't stream and everything is really slow to open. And I took my big computer with the Vista down to a computer shop, and they said there's a couple of things on it, but it should be working fine. And it worked fine at the shop. However, they have a higher speed. So I guess my question is this a computer issue or a Time Warner issue? And what should I do?
Is the connection by Wi-Fi on both those machines, or have you got an Ethernet direct connection?
Yeah, it's all connected correctly. I've had two Time Warner people
is it
came out and checked
Wi-Fi or
that.
Ethernet?
I'm sorry.
Is there a cable going to your PCs, or do you use only Wi-Fi?
I use only Wi-Fi, and since this has happened, my Vista operating system laptop, I've just disconnected it from Wi-Fi. And both of these computers are within 2 feet of my Wi-Fi modem. Should I plug in my Wi-Fi modem to one of my computers?
I think it might be worth you trying to see a machine connected directly by Ethernet. If the speed's okay, that will put it down to the Wi-Fi as the problem.
I would do one more thing too. I would take one or both of the computers to a Starbucks or a McDonald's or someplace that you know has fast internet and test it there just to be sure that you can get a feel for it.
Well, I did, and it works perfectly.
You said they did it at the computer shop. Did you take it to a location other than
that? The people I have to look at my computer is at Staples, and they plugged it into their Wi-Fi. I mean, I was right there with them.
Let me ask you something. When you're saying that you're getting the speed that you're paying for, may I ask you what's the speed?
Oh, I can't remember. It's the absolute lowest one, like 3.
Well, you made a comment that was interesting. You mentioned that you would get a notification from Facebook and then you would click it and nothing would open. That indicates a computer problem. Even if your internet was not working, the page would still try to open. It just wouldn't open.
Well,
it wouldn't
the
resolve.
page tries to open. It's almost like the speed is so slow that it just sort of freezes. It starts to open, and you can see where it's getting like the first entry on the Facebook page, and then it just stops. And it's the same way with any of these links like nextdoor.com or any of the shopping links where, you try to go on. And what's so bizarre is up until a month ago, I had no problem. And I'd sit at my computer and stream Netflix. I mean, that stuff, it just sort of, the round icon that tells you it's loading up, it just sort of goes around and around and around like it's trying to load up. So you're saying that you think this is a computer issue?
Well, no, it could be a computer or a Wi-Fi issue. Like I say, if you plug an Ethernet cable into a device and everything works at full speed, that will almost prove it down to the Wi-Fi as the problem.
In other words, he's talking the process of elimination, because you don't have thousands of dollars worth of test of equipment to be able to verify the individual problem. You have to do it by trial and error, which is what I was suggesting, meaning that, as Jorvik says, if you will take this computer and plug it into this router or switch with an Ethernet cable, turn off your Wi-Fi on the computer. If it works like it used to work, you know you have a Wi-Fi problem. If it doesn't, you've narrowed it down to either an internet problem or or a computer problem. Now, excuse me, I will tell you that I have
unplug my Wi-Fi router from my Time Warner router and plug my Time Warner router directly into my computer. Is that what you're saying?
If you look at the back of your router, what Mike is saying, you can connect your computer to the internet either through Wi-Fi or through a cable.
Okay.
Ethernet cable. And the router will have 4 ports that you can put computers into with with an Ethernet cable.
Okay, I've got one of those.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
that's
I'll try that. And any other so if that works and I've got my speed, then you're saying that it was my Wi-Fi modem that's malfunctioning.
Yeah, it's something in the Wi-Fi. It could be a Wi-Fi driver. It could be the Wi-Fi. You're getting interference from a neighbor. The channels are conflicting. It can be lots of things, but you need to distinguish where the problem is first.
All right. So if that works, okay. So then it's either my Wi-Fi or it could also be my computer, correct?
The problem you're describing, it really doesn't sound like it's the computer. You're saying the website starts to load and it loads very slowly. Also, the next thing I'd recommend you do, the next time you do a speed test, write down the results and report back with them if you call back in.
Well, I've got some. Hold on. Let me.
You mentioned something about 3 megabits. Like a Netflix is not going to run with a 3 megabit.
You've almost eliminated the computer as the problem, because you say you take the computer to Staples and it works perfectly. So you've sort of eliminated the problems in the computer.
Alan
all right, and I'm trying to find.
Alan in the chat is also asking, said, does it improve after the computer has been on for a while?
Say that again?
Does the situation, does it improve after the computer has been on for a while?
No.
Okay, that's a good answer. There you go.
Okay. All right, so here is some on, let's see. Here's one on, let's see, the 27th of July. The download is 3.59, upload 1.21.
That should be more than enough to load Facebook.
Pardon?
That should be more than enough speed to load Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Netflix
and then the next day it was download 3.43 and upload 1.20. And then the next day it was 3.55 download, 1.20 upload.
So it's fine. Yeah, that's the speed. I wasn't even aware they had such a low speed. But yeah, that's enough. Like Nick says, that's enough to do everything else. And you can go on the web, right?
Yes. Mhm. And I can look at my emails. What's interesting is it takes a month ago, it's just like any other computer. You click on your email carrier and it opens up. Now mine takes, a couple of minutes, and then when I hit delete on an email, it takes anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute to delete one email.
And you're talking about deleting your email is online, like Gmail or Yahoo?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, without somebody putting their hand on the computer, you're going to have to eliminate these things yourself and narrow it down to what is causing it. So I would start, like Mike said, start by using a cable and see if the cable solves your problem. Then it's Wi-Fi. If not, yeah, it could be the computer. It could be that you have some kind of spyware that's slowing things down. It could be it could be that cache in the computer, in the browser is doing. There are so many things that it could be that without putting your hand on it, it's hard to determine. But
and
try.
just another quick note would be at some point.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll try the cable.
Wait a second.
Me,
Wait, hold it. Nick, go ahead.
yeah, another thing to note too is sooner rather than later, you're most likely going to have to update that computer anyway. An XP computer, or excuse me, a Vista computer is quite old at this point, so it could be a combination of both.
Well, the thing is my little laptop that I never use unless I travel. It's a Windows 10. And about a month ago, when my Vista laptop started misbehaving, I pulled out my Windows 10 and started using that, and it's doing the same thing now.
Yeah, that's
so that's what's befuddling, is I now have two computers with two different operating systems, and they're behaving the same way.
Yeah, but the common thing is you're using the same Wi-Fi. That's the common thing.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I will test my Ethernet connection directly from the modem to my computer.
Right.
And that'll narrow it down, and I might be calling you back next weekend.
Sure thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Give it a try.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
Bye. All right, bye.
Bye. That's interesting. And yeah, Mike could be right about this. It may also be the Russians. Definitely. 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. Next. And Steve said something there that we missed. He said, change the channel. I was going to ask her if she lives in an apartment or in a house.
That's what I said about a neighbor might be conflicting on the same channel. But like I say, it's worth segregating it first. Like I said, if it works perfectly on the Ethernet, then you can concentrate on the Wi-Fi.
Right. So those of you that use Amazon, sell on Amazon, listen to this story. Marketplace sellers who ship products from their home, garage, or warehouse rather than using Amazon's facilities were told by email that starting October 2nd, items they sell will be automatically authorized for return. That means a buyer will no longer need to contact the seller before sending an item back. And the merchant won't have the opportunity to communicate with the customer. If a consumer is returning an electronic device because it's difficult to use, for example, the seller won't be able to offer help before being forced to pay a refund. Customers will be able to print a prepaid return shipping label via the online return center instantly. The email said additionally, Amazon said that it's introducing returnless refunds, a feature that the company said is highly requested by sellers. The change enables sellers to offer a refund without taking back an item that may be expensive to ship and hard to resell. And I've seen it a couple of times with little things. I mean, for instance, that mic that I bought that didn't work right. I told them, I said, there's something wrong with it. The package was crushed, and I don't know if it did something, but it definitely didn't work right. And he said, that's okay, I'll give you a refund. And I said, can I get an RMA? Do I need an RMA? He said, no, just keep it. I mean, there's nothing. But to be able to return something without asking or without communicating with the seller, that's what Amazon is doing now. They are as of October 2nd. making it easier for consumers to send something back. I would think that if I have something that doesn't work or that I don't know how to use or something and I need help from the seller, that I will get in touch with the seller anyway. That I don't think that will negate the situation of me being able to send it if the seller is not cooperating. But you need to try and work it out first. So that's interesting that they're doing that. Apparently a lot of people complain. Complain. Next.
I did have an interesting computer issue this week.
Uh-huh.
My best friend, who he's a little older than I am, and so I end up having to do all of his computer work, which I'm happy to do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess about 2 years ago, his wife got him a Lenovo i7, 32 gig of memory, 16 gig of memory, still on Windows 7, didn't do the Windows 10 update and all that. Very conscious about not clicking on things. He hasn't had malware of any significance in 7-8 years. He has the worst luck with hard drives. And in fact, I just remembered something I got to tell him, but of course, as time goes on, his computer seems to be getting a little slower, but he is too, so he doesn't notice it as much. I logged into his computer this past week, or I had this repeating something we did a couple, 3-4 weeks ago. I logged into his computer through TeamViewer and noticed that things were very slow, kind of like this lady was talking about. You'd go to a website, and it might take 10 seconds to open it. To which and he's on AT&T Giga 500.
Giga power.
Yeah, Giga Fiber 150 or whatever the 1000 is. But so there shouldn't have been a bandwidth issue. I logged into his computer, noticed things were slow. I had him go I looked at his hard C drive. He has a 500 gigabyte hard drive, Western Digital Blue drive. I had him go get a Samsung EVO 850 solid state drive. He brought the computer over Wednesday or Thursday night, I forget which, and left it. I immediately did an image to one of my external hard drives because he has about 250 gigabytes on it. I did an image to it. That went fine. Took a long time because it seemed, my only diagnosis, the only thing that I could figure out is that the hard drive was failing again. And then after that was done, I installed the SSD where the secondary drive normally is, used Image for Linux to copy the failing drive to the SSD.
Mm-hmm.
I was concerned that the SSD byte allocation would be 3 bytes smaller than the mechanical drive, and I would end up having to start screwing around with partitions and things to get all that to work. But believe it or not, the two allocations were exactly the same. It was from one to the other, had exactly the same file size. So that I was sort of surprised at, because some of these SSDs are non-standard, but the Samsung was standard. I told Image for Linux to copy the image over. It did without incident. I replaced the C drive, the mechanical drive, with the SSD. He was back to normal, and now, of course, he had the speed of an SSD. Amazing difference. Not only does he not deal with the bad hard drive, but he's also got the speed of the solid state drive instead of the mechanical drive. It's probably, as far as I'm concerned, the single best improvement you can do to a computer today is to go from a mechanical drive to a solid state drive.
Yeah, it definitely makes a big difference. But you're also asking for trouble if you don't know what you're doing. Like you said, you had a break that was nice. But if somebody just does it and you said, "Oh yeah, I can just put it," you can mess things up.
But the beautiful part is that even though the drive we took out, even though it is an older drive, I handed it to him labeled and say, don't lose it. This is 100% backup of your drive, safety backup as of today.
Yep. That's
a year from now, we'll throw it in the trash can. But right now, you've got a safety backup.
Right. No, that's absolutely correct. You're right.
And speaking of which, he wanted me to hold on to it, and I refused. And if you look at your email, Amnon, I sent you a picture. I wanted you to.
I can't now.
What do you mean you can't?
I have to go over to my machine. I don't have email on these machines here in the studio. Do I need to?
Nah.
I'll go.
No.
Okay.
Can I do it here?
Yes, absolutely.
What are you doing?
I need to share a picture.
Oh, okay.
So I just need to share the screen, I guess.
Yep.
Make sure it's open on the right thing and you're sharing the correct screen.
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna
switch away from me.
Yeah, I did. And actually, I wanted to do that anyway because it's kind of.
Okay.
Second, let me adjust. I was going to adjust this, but I didn't want to put the black screen, white, actually. Oh, yeah, I see. Okay. And there you go. Oh, I went a little bit too. Oh, no, that's yours. Are these VHS tapes?
No, those are hard drives.
Oh, wow. Cabinet and all.
Say again?
I said cabinet and all.
Yeah, I built that yesterday.
Very nice, Mike. So this is all your previous drives from previous machines that you took out, and you're keeping them sort of like as a backup.
It's a third of them.
Oh, no. I can see Mike starting to look for a new house now.
Well, this is the new house, and I'm
I
trying
know.
to find room to have my new house.
Jeez.
So I built this little, I'm trying to learn woodworking, and this is all cheap crap pine, and I'm trying to learn how to use some things. This one has dados, which I've never done before, of any significance. But believe it or not, you think it's really easy to figure out how wide a hard drive is, count them, make a shelf, you know exactly how many you need. The problem is that if you notice on the left, some of them are in the static wrap, and until you stack them in there and see what kind of various cases and things that are on the drives you may want to leave on there. One of the drives has some sort of a shock mounted casing on it that really doesn't come off. It's actually part of the drive that apparently the manufacturer put on there. So it's just not as easy as, okay, it's going to be 1 inch, stack them in there, you'll know how many it is. And so I kind of wanted to get a feel for how many of these things I need to make. What's so strange about this setup is I don't think I can pick it up.
That's heavy. All these hard drives? Oh, yeah.
Unbelievably heavy.
Yeah, sure.
But I thought it would, but I like this idea. I came up with this idea of stacking them on their sides like that so that you can pull them out without having to unstack them and all that.
So next comes labeling, or are they labeled in a way that we don't see in the picture?
Some of them have labels on them. A lot of them don't. And what I will do is, if you see the computer behind it, that computer is my new quote unquote server to replace an XP machine. That's a Windows 7 machine. It's a dual core, Apple style dual core with 8 gig of memory, something like that. I mean, it's a nice machine. It's a fast machine. But what you can't see is in the bottom of that, I've installed an IDE card, which I mentioned before that I had to go in and set jumpers on a drive, which I haven't done in a long time, but I got everything up and working, and I could read the drive. So what I will do is, when I get in, I do things in order. Once I start working on drives, what I will do is I will install them one at a time. And the reason I held on to them is because a lot of them have some very valuable data that people would like to have. Friends that I've helped over the years, things of that nature. And the idea being that maybe somebody comes along and says, "Oh, I figured out how to work on hard drives. I can get the stuff off of it. Instead of $1,500, it'll be $100." Well, then we'd probably do it. But we're not going to do 500 or 1,500 or something. And over time, of course, you get over missing what you've lost. But there's some on there that if they are bad, and I found one, for example, that says friend of Deborah's 19, what was the year, 2007 or something like that, IDE. Well, I'm going to see if the drive will boot. If the drive will boot, then I'll look on it and see what's on there. Is it possible that somebody would like to have the data? If it won't boot, I'm going to take the magnets out of them.
Yep, that's the thing. Take the magnets out, bend the platters, and
no, not bending the platters. That's dangerous.
Just don't bend the ones. Oh well, you don't have 2.5s.
No.
Yeah, if anybody is doing that 2.5-inch, you try to bend the platters. Apparently, are some kind of a glass. And when you bend it, it breaks into, it explodes into pieces.
Yes, it does. I can confirm.
Do I?
I said, yes, it does. I can confirm.
Yeah. And not a nice situation. You have little fragments all over the place and could jump in your eye. Yep. God forbid.
Well, even if you do that and wear glasses, you can still get shards that'll stick into your skin. These things are razor sharp.
Yep.
So just don't do it. It's not worth it.
It's you just take the drive, put it in a bag, and hit it with a hammer. After you opened it, right on the and it'll shatter. But yeah, don't try to do anything to it because you bend it just a little bit and it's all over the place.
Brent says that he runs a free program in the background that monitors your hard drives called Crystal Disk Info. I've heard of that, but I don't know what it does. When you say it monitors the program, what does it monitor? Having said all that, that would take a pretty good computer to have all these hard drives installed at one time to have a monitor.
Yeah, you can hook them serially, right? Daisy chain them.
Right.
Yeah, like a firewire. Just daisy chain them all.
Yeah, that's it.
There you
go. Absolutely. One pedophile. Pedophile. Doesn't sound right.
So Brent, are you
flop, not a pedophile? Jesus.
So would it be? And this actually is. I'm glad you brought this up, Brent, because I'm looking at this picture that you posted in chat for Crystal Disk Info. And it seems to me that this would be a good program to install on the server computer. When I get a drive that actually boots up, run Crystal Disk Info on it to see if there's a latent problem. Because this drive that I took out of my friend's computer this week, if I put it in there and booted it, I'd look at it and say, oh, okay, everything's fine. It's not fine. The throughput on that thing is about 10% of what it should be. But maybe that would be a good thing to do. No, Gene, they do not all work. I'll bet 2/3 of them don't work.
I remember the days of the RLL drives, the 5 1/4 RLL, and a lot of them had that problem of stiction. Remember that, Mike? Stiction, that the oil from the bearings, the center bearing will come out and it'll explode on the platter, and if it stopped at the right place, it will stick, and that's it.
The new drives do that. Stiction is a physical property. It's not just unique to those drives. It's
I remember doing it with them. I used to open it, spin it, and close it, and it'll come right back. I mean, no clean room or anything. Of course, this was done only for the purpose of copying everything off of it. So it will start, and then you can copy, and if it happens again, it happens again. But there was, you could do it. Today, I don't know that, it's been a long time since I came across a drive that I had to do that to. But back then, it was like a normal thing. I mean, not normal, everyday thing. And my drive stop failed. You bring it over, and you hear it go.
I had some guys, some attorneys on one of the lists I'm on, talk about how they're having troubles with hard drives. Actually, it wasn't the attorneys, it was a radio broadcasters group. They were talking about which drives to recommend. And one guy said, I only use Western Digital Blue. I'd stay away from the greens.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Western Digital has done away with the green label and has now they only use the blue label. It's the same drive.
Yeah,
and I did recommend the purple ones. See, yeah,
those are the NAS drives, I believe.
Yeah, the red, purple.
Well, the
blues
ones are supposed to be for surveillance.
The blues are not good drives.
They are not.
No.
And that's, if you go to Best Buy, that's what they want to sell you.
Of course, because they're the cheapest thing. Yeah, but the ones for surveillance, for the DVRs, it's because they're constantly being written to. Constantly. They never stop writing.
Why not just look, if we are in the manufacturing business, we have 14 varieties of drive. Why not just take all the best properties of them together and make one or two instead of 5 or 10 or whatever they make? Why so many varieties? I mean, as if it's particularly when the majority of your customers are non-technical.
Well, wouldn't that be nice? But it's not going to happen because each one want to keep their stuff protected, so to speak.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
So if anybody in Raleigh Cary is looking for printer paper.
You mean tractor feed?
No.
Oh.
No, you still using your dot matrix printer, Amnon?
Yeah, 9-pin.
9-pin?
Oh, God. What's wrong with you, Amnon?
I hope he's joking.
No, he is.
Yeah, I do.
He's got like 15 laser printers all
I
daisy-chained together.
I think I do have one in the shed outside, though.
I had one. I took it over to Cramden.org.
Our radio station has a dot matrix printer.
Yeah, for the EAS.
For the EAS system.
Well,
some people still use them.
It works quite well for EAS. The text is nice and clear for EAS. I think it's perfect for a utility like that.
Mm-hmm.
All text message.
Can you still buy one?
I would imagine somebody is still making one.
$10,000 each. What I was going to tell about paper, if you're in the area or even in your own area, check Craigslist. For some reason, there are guys who go in onto Craigslist selling copy and printer paper. And here's a guy who has a 10-ream box, which is the big box.
Mm-hmm.
Boise X9, 92 brightness. I like 96, but it's 92 brightness paper, $15 a box.
Wow, there you go.
Brand new.
Wow.
And I told him, he said, I'm in Garner. I said, look, I said, if I drive down to Garner to pick it up, it's going to kind of kill the savings. He said, I can bring it to you. Where are you? I haven't done it yet.
Fell off of a truck, huh?
No, I think what these guys do, there's some sort of, it's not a scam. It's got something they've worked out. They work out some sort of coupons, buy one, get one free, or some sort of rewards or benefit thing. And they probably get this paper for free. They sell it for $15. And when you consider that now the discounted price is $27, heck, what's the problem?
Right. No, I agree.
So Nick has posted a link to something.
To the Amazon Prime dot matrix printer that you can get. 2 days.
$269. Not bad. Let's order one.
I'm not gonna order it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna start doing all this printing on it.
This became first of this thing's they put this product's only from 2005.
There's some businesses that still use them, and justifiably so. Because
a lot of places, especially, I mean, checks, invoices, a lot of them are like stores. They use them, and
whenever they need a carbon copy.
Yeah, and they have to do carbon, right?
But where they really shine is whenever you need a chronological printout that spans more than one page. You don't want pages to be able to be shuffled for security purposes.
Yeah.
And that's why, like with the EAS thing, those pages are fan folded. When you take them off as a group.
I remember over at the Buzz, the EAS printout was not on a regular printer. It was like on one of those narrow printers.
It can be.
That's what I remember. I remember it was we used to get it out of there and stick it on the board for Ted to get it the next morning. I could swear that's what it was. That says that you did it and blah 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 blah, and it was like almost a little wider than a receipt.
It was probably still dot matrix, but it's just a narrow dot matrix printer.
I don't remember. I mean, I just remember doing this and tearing it off and sticking it on the board.
I mean, aren't receipt printers, some of them still dot matrix?
Yeah. Well, most of them are thermal, but
most of them are thermal.
There must be some that are dot matrix, but that's interesting. Yeah. And Brian says he's got one.
As I said, I just got rid of one. I didn't try powering it up. When I took it out of service, it worked great.
I think it's Star. Was it? There was a big, I think something Star.
Well, yeah.
And it's still sitting there. The trick today is to get ink for them, to get the tape.
Apparently you can still get it.
The ribbon. I'm sure you can, but it's not.
6-pack ribbon cartridge for Oki Data, Oki Microline ML180, $4.99.
Nice.
Okay, I'm not any ideas.
Continuous plain paper, $14.97 is cheaper than copy paper. Of course, not the same amount.
And there's not that much demand. They're trying. It's probably as old as the printers themselves. Here's something else interesting here about Apple. Despite being relatively easy, Apple keeps ignoring requests to enable a feature called Advanced Mobile Location, AML, in iOS. Enabling AML would give emergency services extremely accurate location of emergency calls made from iPhones, dramatically decreasing response time. Google's successful implementation of AML for Android is already saving lives. But where Android users have become safer, iPhone owners have been left behind. What would be the reasons to do that other than we don't want people to know where you are?
Well, they already know where you are.
Well,
this just has to do with the EMS or the police or the fire department arguing with the cell carrier. This just stops that step. It's just because Apple hasn't built it into the OS yet. I mean, that's what it comes. Yeah. It'll be with probably the next revision of Apple's operating system.
I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know.
No. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. Oh, I was just thinking, Jorvik, were you trying to say something? I saw your icon pop up before.
It shouldn't have, because I got the mute key through.
Okay, never mind. Netflix is having some problems. Disney announced its intent to pull its movies from Netflix and start its own streaming service. This upset maybe users across the web as the whole appeal of the streaming model becomes diluted when there are too many Netflixes. Torrent Freak argues that while Disney expects to profit from the strategy, more fragmentation is not ideal for the public, and that the move keeps piracy relevant. Although Disney's decision may be good for Disney, of course it is, a lot of Netflix users are not going to be happy. It likely means that they need another streaming platform subscription to get what they want. Well, I mean, these guys are doing it because they're trying to capitalize on their product, and you can't blame them from trying to do it on their own. Instead of getting, yep, I don't know, 10, 20 cents per, they can get $2. I don't know.
Yeah, but this is the problem that starts, and this is when cord cutting will become useless. Is when you have to subscribe to 30 different services to get what you want. You're better off just paying for cable. I will predict cable will make a comeback because all these services are going to end up killing themselves.
It all depends on the cost.
It doesn't matter what the cost, man. Even if it's $5 a month, if there's 25 services out there, you're better off just buying cable television. I mean, it's just
if it's $5 and you have 30 of them, that's right there is 150.
Yeah, then exactly. That's what we're heading towards.
Yeah.
You have to pay for Netflix, you have to pay for Hulu, you have to pay for Amazon.
Yeah.
You've got to pay for now this new Disney service. Sling is extremely unreasonably priced. I mean, it's like $45 for 20 something channels. I mean, you're just better off purchasing cable.
Did you solve the problem of watching TV through the? No,
I did not.
No. Oh,
the throughput was not sufficient enough for streaming content. It was less than a megabit.
Which throughput? From where? From you? Or from the other side?
I believe it was just the throughput using the VPN connection just was not sufficient enough. So, but I found another solution.
Okay.
So I have cable now.
Good. As long as you got what you want.
Well, I didn't get everything I want, but I got some of the stuff I want, so that's fine. I got some of the news channels I wanted to watch, so that's mission accomplished.
What else?
Not much.
Listen to this, and
you having internet problems with YouTube and whatever the default embed is. The stream just keeps stopping and starting on my end.
Really?
Yeah. Click on YouTube. It says the live stream recording is not available.
Click on Facebook. I mean, I'm watching it on
yeah, Facebook works.
On Mix.
Let me switch back.
Yeah, it's working. I don't know, but Facebook will be the highest.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, the default is YouTube, but you can click on MX on channel 1.
Yeah, it's
so YouTube is down?
Oh, YouTube might be down. That would make sense. Just going back to this whole cord cutting thing. I mean,
interesting.
Really, these companies really are going to end up killing themselves with this. And I don't know what the solution is. I mean, everybody's trying to do their own thing, and I appreciate the fact of, like, oh, Disney believes they can develop and market a better product to the consumers. That's all fine and dandy. But now what do I do with my $15 a month Netflix subscription?
Well, I mean, no, that thing's
none of these services are $5 a month. Let me tell you that none of them are $5.
Yeah,
Netflix's SD plan is $9.99.
Wow.
It's just, I was looking at Sling TV because they offer some packages online. And, they offer a whole bunch of stuff, but it's still the problem of, well, I want, a couple channels. They do this thing where it's like, oh, pick the channels you want or so on and so forth. But it's like, oh, I want, 3 or 4 channels from here. and then a couple channels from that plan. So I have to pay for both. And then it's like 50 something bucks a month. And again, at that point, I'm just better off purchasing some cable subscription through Time Warner.
Well,
it's 29 channels for $20 a month is their default plan. And then they've got 45 channels for $25 a month.
Yeah, that's a bunch.
Well, it's not really. I mean, Christ, I can get my basic. Time Warner's willing to offer me 100 something channels for $40 a month.
Yeah, yep.
It's just for, and the channel lineup sucks. It's not even, they're not even good channels. You know, it's like, it just, I guess it depends what you want, but I mean, like, they don't even have all of the major news channels are listed on. CNN is the only news channel on here. No CNBC, no CNBC.
Pun intended, right?
No,
real news.
No, but my point is, there's no MSNBC, there's no CNBC, there's no Fox, there's no Fox Business. Like, I mean, those are the major news channels in this country, and they're not even on this package. It's like, how the hell am I supposed to watch these? They've got all the other Fox channels, and they've got NBC on here, but they don't, and NBC Sports Network, but they don't have MSNBC or CNBC.
Lucky you.
It's just a pain in the ass. And then YouTube's TV subscription is not good either.
So, talking about bandwidth, Americans might not need a fast home internet connection, the FCC suggests in a new document. Instead, mobile internet via a smartphone might be all people need. The suggestion comes in the FCC's annual inquiry into broadband availability. Section 706 of the Telecommunication Act requires the FCC to determine whether broadband, or more formally, advanced telecommunication capability, is being deployed to all Americans in a reasonable and timely fashion. If the FCC finds that broadband isn't being deployed quickly enough to everyone, it is required by law to take immediate action to accelerate development of such capability by removing barriers to infrastructure investment and by promoting competition in the telecommunications market. So if they said that we don't need high speed at home, that 4G is fast enough, it's like, okay, so people, ISPs, you don't have to develop other areas in rural. You don't have to bring it to small towns. They can use phones.
I think that's good.
What about caps?
Amnon, this is how capitalism works.
Yeah, well,
company's not going to roll internet out to 45 people in some rural part of Kentucky or Oklahoma. It's just not going to happen. I don't expect them to. I don't want them to. If they believe that it's worth their time to do that, they can.
I would like to hear from anybody who is using any type of a wireless connection, because Google now is saying that they're not going to run fiber to every home. That's not, the plan is changing. They're going to do it wirelessly from towers to homes. And if they can do gigabit that way, I mean, it'll be great, but we don't know how it works.
And they can't do gigabit with wire.
Well, yeah.
It's like Comcast offers it.
It looks like
Google
gigabit.
Cannot do. I mean,
Nick, did you say that Comcast is?
Yeah, they're doing 2 gigabits. Sean was telling me about it yesterday.
On wireless?
No. Mike, you said they can't do gigabit over cable.
Oh no, Mike is being sarcastic. Yeah,
I was
true.
I was talking. Never mind. I was talking about AT&T.
Oh, yeah. So Google is
Google has different technology. They may be more successful, but
yeah. Comcast. Sean was saying how this guy from Comcast, or this guy that purchased it from Comcast, was they gave him some $10,000 modem switch hub thing, and it's all this stuff. He had to buy PCIe cards for every computer. Obviously, as a regular gigabit card is not sufficient. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
So this broadcast email list that Nick and I are on, there's some pretty smart guys here. Some old.
That's debatable.
Yeah, well, Tom Taggart is a very smart guy and a lawyer, so he has to be smart.
And
he posted today. I was just curious whether anyone had run into this. He says, I used to use Google Earth all the time. Now someone has let the geeks out of their cages, and it's a new and improved useless mess. It comes up with a skeletonized view, no aerial view, just continent or zoomed in road outlines, completely useless. You can go to a light mode, but you lose all the tools like the ruler. They probably want you to sign up for XX dollars per month for a version that is useful. Let's see here. Google, whose motto is this is a different guy responding. He's kind of crazy. Google, whose motto is don't be evil, is now one of the greatest evils on the planet. I don't know what they'd want you to sign up as you suggest, but they probably want to know in exquisitely greater detail what you're looking at so that they can sell your information. Like accessing your GPS, private messages, microphone, and camera on Android phones. Frankly, it bothers me that Google is GPS tracking, then photo recording Android users going to the bathroom, and who knows what else. And then this guy thinks that he can beat the system. He says, that's why I use an alias that lives on the opposite side of the country and an email that goes to trash.
What a moron.
I mean, he's actually a very smart guy, but he's obviously not informed.
Clearly.
And then here's a guy who's a pretty sharp guy, says, I use Google Earth almost every day and haven't noticed any major change up to this morning, the last time that I used it. Satellite photos and all of the tools, including Cavell's great utility, all work fine here. I'm running the Pro version in Windows 7, and I agree that the amount of data that Google collects is very concerning, but the other choice is iThing, and they do the same. Someone has already figured out how to tap tin cans and string. And then this guy, I don't even bother reading his stuff, is crazy. And this guy, who is definitely very smart, says, I did say that Alphabet is a bigger Big Brother / 1984 threat than Microsoft or any other company was and remains such today, even more so than Apple, who isn't as marketing happy as Alphabet is with the data it gathers, but is getting there. It's getting there if my wife's constant phone bongs containing ads is any indication. I leave my GPS location notification disabled on my phone as I don't want anyone, least of all some corporation, knowing my every whereabouts and movements. Their direction navigation app is a wonderful thing, but that's the loss leader for them knowing where and when you were there and sell that very specific information to who knows who. As for Google Earth, again, initially a loss leader, beta. Get people hooked on a free version and then cripple it offering a professional or advanced version on a paid subscription or reverse marketing basis, which is not new, but nevertheless frustrating. Think Pandora, where you can pay cash for ad-free streaming or simply be exposed to commercials every 3 songs after creating an account. None of this is inexpensive to develop or perfect, and Alphabet and its subsidiaries do have stockholders and they expect a return on their investment.
So he's complaining about Google.
Oh, yeah. I hate Google.
I find it funny that he thinks turning his location services off makes it so they can't find out where he is.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing with this. If you are carrying around a cell phone in your pocket, you've given up. You've given it all up. And it's just what it is. It's not bad. It's not good. It's indifferent, but it's just you've allowed that.
So listen to this story here. A team of 8 researchers has discovered that by altering street signs, an adversary could confuse self-driving cars and cause their machine learning system to misclassify sign and make wrong decisions, potentially putting the lives of passengers in danger. The idea behind this research is that an attacker could, one, print an entirely new poster and overlay it over an existing sign, or two, attach smaller stickers on a legitimate sign in order to fool the self-driving car into thinking it's looking at another type of street sign. And I was reading this and I was saying, I don't have a self-driving car, but if somebody put an overlay on a stop sign that says something else, it'll fool me too. You don't need to fool, it'll fool anybody by changing signs on the road.
Well, yeah, but you've got to remember every sign on the road has got a different shape, so it doesn't matter what it says.
Well, but the thing is, it can fool a driver. And I would think also that having GPS for the cars, that they'll be more likely to say, nah, something is wrong here. I'm supposed to go straight. Why is it telling me to go to the right? The sign. Why is the sign telling me to go to the right? Something is wrong. I don't know. I don't know enough about driverless cars, but yeah, you can fool machines and you can fool humans by changing signage.
The car sat-nav system doesn't look at signs, does it? So what's the difference?
We both look at signs.
No, what I'm saying is the car sat-nav systems you use when you enter something in a sat-nav, your sat-nav's not looking at signs, it's looking at a database.
I see, that's the thing. I don't know if they are. No, of course, you're right. Yeah, they're not looking at the signs. But cars, I guess, in order to know where exactly is the stop sign to stop, it looks at it. I don't know that the GPS or any other system is going to be able to tell it unless there's something embedded in the road, which is not there yet.
It'll recognize the sign. That will be sign recognition.
Yeah, but if you take a square, like Nick said, that there's also a shape, but you can take a square piece of cardboard and cover.
No, that I don't think so. No, that I don't think so.
What?
Those signs are. The stop sign has got a certain shape. The yield sign has got a certain shape.
Right.
How would you?
Right, but no, you can, yeah, and then they are the square ones, and you can cover this. It seems like that's what they were saying, that they will print a whole new sign and overlay it.
Yeah, they're talking about printing the front face of the sign, I believe.
Yeah, if
you have a square, I don't know how you could make that.
No, if you have a square, it's going to be hard to make it. Yeah, but you can take a stop sign and make it into a square.
I guess. You could have been doing this for 100 years, I guess. I don't know why.
Sure.
I don't know why you would. I don't really understand the whole point.
Those. These are people who are trying to justify what they're doing.
You hit the nail on the head, Amnon, when you said other drivers would notice it. It's a bit stupid, really, because everyone would notice that.
Yeah, if I guess a human will be able to tell, hey, that's not a real sign. I don't care what it says, but it looks kind of weird. It was another anniversary this week, or this month. On August 3rd, 1977, Tandy Corporation teamed up with Radio Shack to release the TRS-80, one of the first personal computers available to consumer markets. Most felt it was unlikely to grow substantial profits. This bulky item with complex operating procedures would never sell. they thought. More than 1,000, maybe. They thought maybe 1,000 they will sell the first month. As it turned out, the TRS-80, or Trash 80 like we used to call it, surpassed even the most cautious sales estimates by tenfold within its first month on the market. And the prospects of a new era in personal electronics and computing could no longer be denied. 1977? This I wasn't aware that's when the Trash 80 came out. I thought it was somewhere around in the early 80s beginning of the 80s that the personal computers hit the market. But apparently, I know there was also a Zenith, but I don't know that it was everyday use computer. But the TRS-80 was it was, today you look at it and you say, yeah, that was a pretty nice looking computer. Nobody's saying anything about Trash 80 in the chat. No, we're not going to talk about Trump, Joe. Not Nick, about Gary.
Call in if you want to talk about it. I mean, we have open phone lines, right? 919-518-9773. Contribute to the show.
What's the name? Consumer Reports is really not recommending the Surface anymore.
Oh yeah, I heard this. I think this is a coordinated effort to screw Microsoft. I don't buy it for 1 second.
I don't know.
What is their complaint with it?
They're complaining about the reliability of the device, the build quality.
Repairability.
I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Apple's computers are impossible to repair. Yeah. You have to bring them to the store. Yet, this is why I'm 100%. I'm almost certain this is a coordinated effort by somebody.
Well, but let's hang on a second. They, if one of these fails, where do you get them repaired?
A Microsoft store.
We don't have one.
Okay. Then you send it back. Same way with my Asus. So if my Asus fails, where do I get it repaired? I have to send it back to.
There's places here in town that'll fix your Asus.
Oh, there's places in town that'll fix your Surface too. But I mean, there's not a certified Asus store. If I have to RMA my computer, I've got to send it back to Houston, Texas, or San Antonio, or wherever. I think San Antonio, or Houston, wherever Asus is located.
No, you say what you want, but we at my company we bought 45 laptops. The users had a choice. They could select either between the Surface, whatever the top end one was, or the Carbon X1 from Lenovo. I guess 40% of the people selected the Surface because of the small size. Once they were installed, our IT department spent hours and hours and hours solving problems. They even had to wait for BIOS updates to get things to run. And this has been about a year and a half now. And actually about a month ago, they sent out an email saying that we are retiring the Surface computers. If anybody wants to buy one, you can have them for cheap. I don't remember what the price was.
Is that still the case?
I don't know. I hadn't asked. I don't think anybody wanted them.
You should find out how much they are. I'd be interested in one.
Well, I asked him. I said, "What do you call cheap?" He said, "Probably $1,000." I said, "We're on a different wavelength."
Yeah. Okay.
So I think about $100.
Yeah. So I was gonna say like $200-300. But no, see, that's the thing is I can agree with the operating system and all this stuff, but the Consumer Reports thing was so vague and just consumers are unhappy with the stability. Like, what does that mean? The device isn't stable. Does it crash all the time?
They say that they had a problem. A consumer had problem with startup and freezing problems. That was one of the things.
We had that.
I mean, I had that with my Toshiba laptop.
Yeah, well, every machine.
I mean, that's my point. It's so vague, and it's not like, oh, the hinge is falling off and the computer is breaking. Okay, now we've got a valid concern. But every laptop that you buy could have especially the cheaper ones, could have an issue with startup and freezing. I mean, that's not uncommon.
The difference though is if it's a Windows problem, that's one thing. If it's a BIOS/hardware problem, that's quite a different argument. And the issues that they ran into were not Windows issues. Our main IT guy is a genius at this stuff. I mean, he's real quiet, soft spoken. You ask him a question, I don't know. I suspect it's 123. It's 123. He knows his stuff, and he just was very turned off by him.
Yeah, and I mean I don't know what specific ones they bought, but
they're saying that the problems are with the Surface laptops 128 gig and 256 gig, and Surface Book 128 and 512.
Those aren't even the ones that your office probably had, Mike. Your office probably the Surface Tab. Those laptops are brand new. I mean, those were the ones that that Microsoft announced last year to compete with Apple's MacBook.
I think the ones we're talking about are Surface Pro 4.
Those are the tablets. So those aren't even. That's not even what Consumer Reports is.
They say the devices losing their recommended status are the Surface Laptop and Surface Book.
I can tell you right now, just based on my very limited exposure to them, my secretary has one. She still uses it as her main work computer. We'll go into a conference room and it's her turn to project, and she'll spend 5-10 minutes trying to get the damn thing to work. And more often than once, we'd switch over to another Lenovo computer and it just comes right up. Now, that may mean that something is installed or configured incorrectly. Maybe she's not trained to know how to do it correctly. Those are all fair responses. I'm just telling you that it's been a problem. They've been problems for us. They've created a lot of extra work for our IT guys.
Yeah, that's bad. You don't hear that about Apple.
I'm not sure that's true. I mean, it's. I know someone who took one to an Apple store because they couldn't get the operating system to boot.
Yeah, no, I'm talking. I'm talking about.
That guy must have been a real jackass.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you can't even figure out how to boot a computer.
Let's see. Good morning. Who is this?
Yeah, no, I'm talking.
Hello. Never mind.
Yeah, must be.
No, I mean, I guess the people that are using Apples, it doesn't matter which Apple. I guess they just don't want to say that something is wrong. They don't brag about, oh, something is really bad. I don't know if that's what the situation is, but it's obviously something to think about when it comes to, I don't know that somebody would make their mind up just because Consumer Reports said so, but it's something you take into consideration when you look at one.
Well, I agree, but that's what my whole. It just seems odd that Consumer Reports would go after. I mean, Microsoft must have pissed somebody off Consumer Reports. This seems like it's some type of retaliation.
Wait. Are you suggesting that news reporting and opinion might be biased?
No, I would never assume that, Mike.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I didn't misunderstand you.
How dare you? How dare you assert that I would assume something like that?
So the Russians are getting into these computers.
I'm an award-winning radio host, and I don't need this nonsense.
You and Alex Jones.
You're just jealous.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never been on the radio before.
Same.
Radio?
Tradio.
Radio?
Radio.
But I heard this. I read this story earlier in the week, and it's just something seemed fishy about it.
No.
Comment I was going to make.
Yeah.
Consumer Reports used to have a lot of credibility back in the
the
pre-internet days. They were quite often a really good source, and then like so many other things, they deteriorated to the point that they were all opinion instead of objective reporting. They got political on things, so that's when I canceled my subscription and refused to pay attention to it. Now, whenever you want to buy something, like I seem to do about every other day, I will do a search for reviews. I'll look at reviews on Amazon.com, look at Google reviews, look at all the various pages that have reviews. Once you learn how to read those reviews, you can get a pretty good idea about what you're going to run into with a new product. You have to learn to sort out the morons, the Obama voter people who write stuff in there on these reviews and they don't make any sense at all, and filter all that out and get down to normal people, and you can get an idea of what the negatives are. I mean, I ordered this and it came in a cardboard box. That's not fair. I wanted a box with a picture on it. Snowflake.
I wanted a JPEG.
I wanted it. Do I look like I know? Never mind.
That's Nick. That's an art.
What's an art?
How to sneak these little comments into a conversation.
I'm very sarcastic.
Mike is great at that.
If you haven't realized, I'm very sarcastic, and so is Mike.
So T-Mobile is going to produce their own phone.
I think that's a great idea. Hopefully they don't do a OnePlus where they say, hey, we're going to make a low-cost phone, and then realize, oh, there's actually a reason why Apple and Samsung charge so much for these phones, because they're pretty damn expensive to produce.
Yeah, they said that it's going to cost users $5 a month. No down payment.
See, that is actually very cheap if it's a decent phone. Because I know the iPhone that I had was available either.
Here it says it's going to run Android Nougat, and it's going to offer pretty basic specs: 5.5-inch HD display, 2 GB of RAM, 32 GB of storage, 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, and 5 megapixel front-facing camera. But it also throws in a fingerprint sensor and will cost T-Mobile customer just $5 a month.
Well, that's interesting. I guess you'd have to. So I guess the question would be: is how often are they going to refresh this model, and how often can you get a new one?
And what's your commitment at $5 a month?
I'm sure there's no commitment with it.
That's
but the
very interesting. Look at that. The COO said the company is catering to those who want the latest smartphone technology, but can't afford to pay for high-end devices.
2 gigabytes
That's
of RAM,
interesting.
that's real latest.
Yeah, it's
well, but keep in mind we're talking $5 a month here.
Again, but so then here's the flip side though. You should if you don't have any money for the latest smartphone, I think you should do what Amnon does and buy a used one. Buy an older used one. It's got better specs than this, most likely.
Even then, it'd be more than $5 a month. But here's the problem. I mean, the only way I would ever use T-Mobile service is if I were going to stand in one spot and never move.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's absolutely horrible.
Brian swears by it. I had T-Mobile when I got my before the original iPhone. I had T-Mobile, and this. I mean, the freaking awful. Absolutely terrible.
Our COO had T-Mobile until 2 weeks ago. He would drive back and forth between Raleigh and Wilmington. I counted one time; his phone disconnected 8 times.
Yep. Yeah, his phone service was terrible. Now he has Verizon.
He's only disconnected once, and that was at Ocean Isle Beach. And he might have been drunk and hit the wrong button, so I don't know.
Well, look, they are, as far from what reading, they are the fastest growing, right?
Well, so this is the thing, is though they're doing a lot of rehabilitation because they offered a whole bunch of stuff, but then their service was just terrible, and a whole bunch of people left.
And this, we're talking about losing the signal. We're talking about on I-40.
Well, I had that. I don't think I lost signal. I don't think I lost signal on I-40. There was a couple of slow parts through I-40. I was streaming some content, and I had a couple hiccups, but I never lost connection.
Okay, but I give any of the carriers a break on data. The data towers, I understand how you can have some soft spots there. Yeah. I do not give them a pass on voice.
Neither do I. It's so low quality and so low bandwidth. I don't see how it's possible that it's.
What if somebody is broken down in their car They're depending on their cell phone for safety. They're broken down in the car in a soft spot on the interstate. That's inexcusable. To me, they ought not to be allowed to be. I don't want government get involved any more than they already are, but they ought not to be allowed to call themselves full service if they don't provide total coverage from point to point over an interstate highway.
I mean, there's not a whole bunch on I-40 between Raleigh and Wilmington, but it's a pretty heavily traveled road. I mean, when I came up there Friday, the roads were freaking packed.
I understand, and there's a lot of reason that you might need to be able to communicate on I-40.
Absolutely, and I can see, specifically up in New York, the Adirondack Mountains are a good example of where there's just the cell service up there is almost non-existent. But again, it's not a major thoroughfare. You're in the mountains of upstate New York. I can give a pass on that, but no, I experienced that same experience with the cutouts on I-40.
And Tim says, "Got to love Deutsche Telekom." Why is Tim saying that? Is that a sarcastic?
It might be. I'm familiar with the name, but I'm not familiar with how their service works.
I guess they own T-Mobile.
They might. I just.
Oh wait,
T-Mobile.
Brian's got the right answer here. He said my wife's T-Mobile phone was the only one working when she and her friends went to Yellowstone. So, just if you need to make a phone call, go to Yellowstone.
T-Mobile and Sprint have the same problem. I think both of them work very well in certain areas where T-Mobile or Sprint have decided that this is where they want to compete, or this is where they want to, be the carrier. But I think for the most part, again, and I think AT&T and Verizon cover most of the U.S. very well. But I think T-Mobile and Sprint cover certain sections of the U.S. better than others. That's been my big issue with T-Mobile. I mean, T-Mobile was terrible in New York in the
terrible.
Before 2010.
But I will tell you that for anyone who thinks we're dogging on them, they get their act together and roll over the price, I'll switch to them tomorrow.
Yeah, and Brian says I think in 2 years they'll surpass. I hope they do, but right now they're not.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I mean I'm all for it because AT&T is expensive and whatever. I'm all for competition, but at this point they're just not there.
I mean, this is the same sort of issue that's happening with cell phones and cable TV. They tend to run sort of hand in hand the way they want to screw consumers. I mean, for example, I got an email this past week from AT&T that said your introductory offer will expire on, what was it?
Whatever. Yeah.
I think it's September 15th. I said, wait a minute. So I called him. I said, what's expiring? How much? Well, your bill's going to go up $30 a month.
Uh-oh.
And I said, no, it's not. And she said, no, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. She said, well, why not? And I said, because I'm going to be switching over to something else because I'm not going to pay that. Now, if you've got a retention department, you want to try to see if you can maintain the same price, I'll be glad to do it. She said, no, I am the retention department. And I said, then what's the procedure for returning the equipment? And she said, well, you have to let us know the date you want to terminate, and then you take your receivers over to a UPS store. They'll box them and ship them back. I said, okay, fine. I said,
when did this take place, that discussion? And you did not hear a thing?
Well, no, I mean, that's fine. I mean, they said I'm not authorized to extend that introductory offer. And that's okay. I said, I didn't tell her to cancel and all that, because if I couldn't get what I wanted from Speculum, some sort of introductory deal, if theirs was going to be more than $180 to get what I need, I just have to suck it up and pay it. So I didn't know the answer to that at the time. I wasn't rude to her.
Yeah. But nobody called you back.
Oh no, heck no. So I went on to Twitter and posted something. I forget what it was. Something about just some smart aleck remark about AT&T thinks they're going to jack my rate up $30 a month, and they're in for a rude awakening. And sure enough, within about an hour, somebody from AT&T private messaged me and started and say, well, we want to look into your situation. We sent you an email. Please click on the link within the next 30 minutes so we can verify that it's you. And I did that. Then I didn't hear anything from them for 2 hours. And one thing led to the next. And by the next day, they said, okay, we've extended your deal another year. So your bill will not change in September. I said, okay, well, we'll leave it as is.
Oh, okay. So you did hear. Good.
I just hate the way they lie.
Well, I mean, you can't blame them for trying to make more money because that's what those people are there for.
I can, but I'm glad you said that, because here's my thing, and I would like the chat room and everybody to weigh in on this. I tend to try to look into the future to try to understand where things might be going. Whenever AT&T started jacking up the price of home telephone lines, I made the comment, maybe even right here on this show, they're going to price themselves out of the market. I know what my income is. I know what my kids' incomes are. I know what the average incomes are. I know who can afford these things. I know who cannot afford these things. And whenever you get to a point that it becomes not worthwhile to maintain the service. Again, AT&T, when I dumped them, were charging me $59 a month for a home telephone line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's going to pay that? And what I say that to talk about cable TV. Right now, if there are a lot of people, I posted on nextdoor.com in my neighborhood, I said, how much are you paying AT&T? And I told them what was going on, because I said, there's some funny business going on. And of course, there were prices all over the board. And they also would start posting about speculum and what they're paying and the deals they got. And people were paying, depending on their service, one guy's paying $212 a month. And I'm saying to myself, how many people do you know out there working, married, newly married individuals working? How many people out there can afford to pay $212 a month for TV? Now, granted, that's TV and internet, but I mean, just think about it. That's a lot of money. So what's happening is cord cutting is becoming a big, big thing. And I was shocked to see how many people in Nextdoor, in some fairly, I guess I would say, upper scale neighborhoods, have cut the cord. I was surprised. Now, like Nick was talking about a while ago, is it going to lose its appeal as you have to subscribe to so many things and pay through the month for them? Well, maybe, but even then it becomes a matter of choice. Do you really want to pay $8 a month for HGTV? Well, not really. You know what? Now that I've got these other channels, I don't need to be spending that much time in front of TV anyway. What I'm saying is that it's, in my opinion, it's my prediction, and I don't think it's a very prophetic one at this point because it seems obvious, but I think that cable TV is pricing themselves out of the market. It's going to get to the point that there's going to have to be a drastic change in the way cable TV services are offered because the price is so high.
Yeah, but Mike, you got to remember the other side is when you got it, it was an introductory, and you got a good price to begin with.
It wasn't a good price. It was a price that's probably, these sweetheart deals are what they should be charging, and once they hook you, they want to jack the price up.
That's
well,
the
I don't
thing.
want them to jack the price
and
up.
When they see, can you imagine how many people, for one like you, that they did extend it for, how many people actually keep on paying it?
Tons.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is why I'm saying maybe the choice of words, you can't blame them, is wrong, but that's what they are there for, to make more money. And if you don't stand for and you don't threaten them that you're going to leave, I mean, what, are you going to extend it for me for another year and have me pay $100 a month? Or do you want to lose that $100 a month altogether and I'm going to give it to your competition? That's when they say, okay, well, we might as well, at least here we already have it. Yeah, we can do it. But you have to go through hoops to get to it. Yeah.
But if you study economics, and it is a very intense course of study, but if you study economics, there are short-term and long-term decisions that impact the overall health of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you make a short-term decision to jack the price up that causes people to stop using your services altogether, for the long term, that's stupid. That's exactly what AT&T did with their copper wireline phones. They jacked the price up so high they got people away from using wireline telephones. I don't know what the numbers are, but the number of people who actually have a copper phone line at home, I bet you it's less than 30%.
I would say a lot less.
Well, there are a lot of old people like me. I mean, normally
they still have cell phones.
Say again?
They still have cell phones.
Well, they still have cell phones, but even then, there are a lot of people who still have wireline home phones. And I'm not talking about phones through the cable company. I'm not talking about VoIP, because I've got 5 or 6 wireline phones here at the house through my OB-Hide device. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about pure telephone, tip and ring telephone. I'll bet the numbers. And in 2020, the phone AT&T is officially discontinuing copper service to everyone.
My grandparents still have AT&T copper service.
Weren't you telling me they would never call up and ask for a better deal from the cable company?
So that was my next example of they have this is my father's parents. They have the lowest tier of Time Warner internet you can get. They've got that old the black DOCSIS 2 modem, started with an A, whoever made it, Erasis or something like that. So the slowest internet Time Warner will give you, so maybe 5 or 10 megabits. And a single cable box, and they are spending $125 a month for their service. My service when I left home was like $150, and we had 4 cable boxes plus the highest tier internet we could get. Because they don't call, and they've been on that cable plan for probably 15 years.
Amnon, I just had an idea for Delta Force.
Yeah.
Why don't you, I don't know what your average invoices are, but why don't you add $50 a month to each one of your invoices and see if anybody notices it?
I think that would be a great idea.
I mean, think how much money you could make.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it this way. These people have an obligation to read their bills, and if they don't notice that you've added an additional $50, then screw them. They ought to pay it. They deserve it. They ought to pay better attention and manage their business affairs better than that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the difference between AT&T and Delta Force.
And when you call Delta Force, Mike, you'll get a real person every time.
Yeah.
Yep. Amnon Nissan will answer it personally unless he's not there.
He's not there.
The thing about copper wire, I mean, the last number that we had in the house that was actually AT&T wired was $37 a month.
It's pricey.
And I really wanted to keep it because I kept on believing that it's the only way that you're going to have phone service when things go down and all that. But when you look at the rest of the world, and they all are using the cell phones, and they are all, you said, well, no, I need to look into doing away with it.
Let me tell you.
It cost me literally nothing a month to take that number and put it on the UMA service. It did cost $40 one time to port the number, but it didn't cost me anything more a month. And we still have that line, but it's voice over IP. So, yeah, when you think about this, there's no doubt you can actually save a lot of money, and it's not the end of the world. You were saying, Nick?
There's only one true way to communicate, and that's amateur radio. No. I'm being dead serious. If there was just a story there was just a situation in, I believe it was British Columbia, where construction crews damaged the fiber connections coming into the town. Cell phone was down, cable was down, internet was down, everything was down. And there you go, amateur radio.
All right, so what we need to do, since we're going to have this big EMP coming along that's going to blow up all communications, we need to get some tube-type ham radios.
Guarantee you they exist.
Of course, I know they exist. I used to have a ton of them.
There you go. But that's what I'm. But all joking aside, if there are people that are serious about having a, all wires down form of communication, amateur radio is the way to go.
Yeah.
Not hard to get your license either. Find a local ham club, ARRL.org.
So, Gary, do you have anybody still using ISDN?
Mike, as far as electronics, if you took your electronics and put them in a metal box, will they get affected?
Depends.
On.
Let me ask you this question with an analogy to help, because this question comes up a lot. In fact, several people have asked me this recently. If you took something that's highly susceptible to being damaged by water, if you put it in a watertight box and sank that box under 100 feet of water, would it keep it dry?
Probably, if it was rated for it.
Yeah, if it was rated for it, right? Okay, yeah.
The answer is it depends. If it has sufficient shielding properties to diffuse the signal that hits it, such that it's, think about strength of anything, a mechanical strength. If you take that box and drive one of your military vehicles over it, will the box crush? It depends on how strong the box is versus how much weight is being put on it at certain places and stress points throughout the physical makeup of the box. If it has sufficient shielding capability, it will totally protect it. So now you take this electronic device out of this shielded box, and who are you going to call?
No, that's why ham radio. There you go. You just find somebody to talk to.
Yeah, no, but we see the ham radio itself, unless it's tube based, it's not going to work.
Well, you could throw that in your box.
Right. You see, that's what I'm wondering, if stuff goes into a Connex box and just being stored in a Connex box.
All depends how strong the EMP was, where you're located. It's just. But that's
Faraday.
I got a question for Gary. I hadn't thought about it, but supposedly in fact, maybe Brian, since you're suggesting the Faraday cage, an EMP, is it going to be magnetic, electrostatic, or both? If it's going to be both, which one is going to be stronger, the electromagnetic or the electrostatic? Therefore, the Faraday cage needs to be made out of iron-based material or copper-based material, or both. Which one's going to cause the damage from an EMP? I don't know I haven't read it because I haven't done the research on it, because I'm not exactly Alex Jones, scared of my shadow yet.
Alex Jones doesn't talk about Faraday cages.
It's because he doesn't understand them.
I don't know why you hate him so much.
He's just stupid.
No, he's well, stupid. You're stupid. How about that?
Yeah. You're fired.
I'll show you.
Oh boy.
Like, you're just jealous that you're drinking chemicals in your water. That's what's
no.
wrong with you.
What I am, I'm just jealous that I'm not drinking Drano and have a voice like his.
Drano.
I just can't stand his voice. He's a showman. I get it.
All right.
See, Brian, this is the problem, Brian, because Brian says that it's going to have the EMP will be both electromagnetic and electrostatic. He said, I have heard copper is the best. Copper will not shield against electromagnetic. Right. It has to have iron in it. Copper doesn't have iron in it. Copper has copper in it.
Right.
See, Brian's an amateur radio advocate. I'm being dead serious about this. All joking aside.
Absolutely.
All joking aside, if you are even somewhat interested in a form of communication, if natural, you can talk about a war, but just natural disaster, hurricane, earthquake,
or sunspots.
Yeah, sunspots. You absolutely need to have your amateur radio license.
But you know what you're doing, though, Nick? You're advocating that people go out and get their ham radio license, and you're going to have so many of the. I almost said it. I'm not going to say it. You're going to have so many undesirables on the band that it'll be kind of like comments on YouTube videos.
That's fine. They won't be able to. They won't figure out the test if they're undesirable.
I don't know. They'll cheat. They'll go out online, and the government will give it to them.
I left my amateur radio antenna at home.
There's gonna be something they're gonna call Obama ham.
Free Obama radios.
What were you saying about the antenna, Mike?
I'm sure you can go get one in Wilmington somewhere.
Oh, I can't. My grandparents are coming down in a couple weeks. They're going to bring it with them.
Cool.
All right. Unless you want to keep on talking, which is fine with me.
I don't. I've got 10,000 things to do, including.
And you've got about 3 hours to do it.
Yeah, I got. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I will not be live tonight, by the way.
Right. Wait, now Steve just made a good point that I'm glad he did this. He says, like the test will matter in the end. And the reason that's a good point,
it's true. It's true.
It's exactly right. And it's something I was going to say. My wife she and Nick are kind of crazy together, and they look at all this weird stuff. And so she actually at one point wanted to get her ham license. And I ordered a book on, I forget what the name of it is, paid about $15, $30, whatever it was for the book, so she could study it and take the test. And when I got the book, I sat there and went through it, and I made something like 90% on the practice test without even reading the book, because the stuff is very basic. I mean, it's important stuff, but it's very basic. and that way I felt like I told her, I said, all right, when you get started on it, if you got any questions, let me know, and I'll try to help you understand it. And that way you'll pass the test in flying colors. Well, she hadn't done anything about it. But my point to her was, so there's a national emergency, and she does have a walkie-talkie. I got her one of these Bayfongs or whatever it's called.
Those things are fantastic.
She's got one.
Okay, well, cool.
I don't know if she can find it, but she's got one. And I said, so the reality is that you're sitting here, nobody has any power. You got an emergency, or you want to help somebody. Are you going to say, wait a minute, I can't talk on this walkie-talkie because I don't have a license?
No, but here's the problem that you run into, and this is I had the same kind of thought before I got my license, and the problem you have is if you're not into the community locally, you won't even know where the hell anybody's talking, or what. I mean, you're talking about repeaters with some type of use some type of key to get into them, or some type of pulse to talk. I mean, you have to be. That's the thing is you can, I guess, just flip it on. If you give somebody else the same frequency, you probably can talk if you have line of sight. But you have to kind of be immersed in the community to know what the hell, like down here, I've kind of read up on the different repeaters that are available in the different groups and where they communicate and stuff.
Well, to be clear, I'm totally in favor of people studying it and learning about it, because the information, even though it's extremely basic, it can be useful. And in a time of emergency, you're not going to be able to run down to the local radio shack and say, hey, how do I turn this thing on?
And Mike, to be honest, it was basic for you. I learned a whole bunch of stuff taking that test. And I thought and I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that I learned about, 2 meter and stuff that I would have absolutely no reason to have known beforehand.
If it comes down to it, you turn on the radio and you talk.
But who are you going to talk to? That's my whole point.
Yeah.
It's not you.
Well, you're going to go
channel 1, channel 2, channel 3.
Don't you have to have a subcode to be able to enable keying the repeater?
Absolutely, you do. You need a PL tone. I mean, you're not just going to be able to be like, oh, let me guess the PL tone on this.
And you have to punch it in the radio. I believe you punch in a number like 331 or something like that.
There's a couple of preset PL tones, and you just typically cycle through them. There's maybe 8 or 9 or 10 PL tones that are.
But let's finish with this. Anyone who's interested, they don't do Morse code anymore, so don't let that be a distraction. If you're interested, get one of the ARRL books, study it, take the test, and get you a little radio. They're not expensive at all to get a small one. Having said that, I was getting ready to say what my wife just posted. Broadcastify has local repeaters for Skywarn. What that means is if you want to, particularly when there are tornado warnings, hurricane warnings, watches, things like that, go on the internet, go to Broadcastify, find your local repeater for Skywarn. These are the weather nerds.
Yep.
and it will help you understand what shortwave radio, what the benefits are that they provide to the emergency community. And it's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, this is the radio that Mike is talking about. This is one without an antenna, but this is a little, I believe this is a 10-watt Baofeng. I actually took this. I actually borrowed this from a professor. I never gave it back. So
probably liberal.
Well, whatever. But
he wants you to have it. It's the right thing.
That's fine. It was like 3 semesters ago. I was a freshman when he gave it to me, and he never mind. So yeah, I mean, you get these. The real thing to do is you can read the book and take the test. But I would recommend that you search for a amateur radio club that runs a class. That's what I did. They offered a 2-day class. I think it was $75, and that covered the $25 test fee. You were able to take the test 3 times if you failed it. And they provided lunch both days, and it was a whole 2-day class. And I learned so much more from that than because I read the book and then took the class. I learned way more from taking the class, but it was a lot of fun.
But you learned more in the class because you had read the book.
But yeah, to some extent, probably, yes.
You were starting from a better position than cold.
Yeah, but I would definitely recommend finding a local ham group that offers a class.
All right. Well, Susan is Skywarn certified.
What? So am I. She needs to get her ham radio license so she can.
Okay. Well, report. That's your project.
That's not my project.
It is.
Nick,
is that my problem?
Nick, aren't you glad you came to North Carolina?
I'm going back.
Me too. Nick,
yeah, there we go.
All right, let's do it.
Like, what county do I live in? Do I live in?
You live in New Hanover.
New Hanover. Okay. Thank you. No, I don't. Oh yeah.
All right.
Sorry. I won't be live tonight, by the way, so no phone calls, but there will be a show.
Yeah, there will be a show. Jorvik, anything you wanted to add? Is Jorvik still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
No,
no nothing to add. No.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks, Mike, Jorvik, Nick, and everybody else. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And like we mentioned, tonight at 7, Nick Craig is hosting Against the Norm on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7. And you can listen on TuneIn. See you next week, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.